The MSME trust paradox: why India's 63 million small businesses are betting on AI. That single number resets the tech playbook. The key question is not what happened, but what changes next for operators and users. We will map trigger, incentive shift, and downstream impact before the close. 8.2 million Indian small businesses are now using generative AI, a 340% year-over-year jump. This isn't a coincidence. It's a collision between two opposing philosophies about how trust actually works in technology. Here's the core tension. Western AI companies are optimizing for institutional trust, regulatory approval, lawsuit avoidance, media perception. Indian MSMEs are optimizing for transactional trust. Does this tool help me serve my customer today? The second bar is radically lower, and it's unlocking exponentially faster adoption. Let's look at the numbers. Meta's retreat isn't isolated. In the past 90 days, OpenAI delayed ChatGPT's voice mode in the EU. Google restricted Gemini image generation for 47 new person-related prompts. Anthropic added 12 new safety guardrails to Claude. Meanwhile, in India, 47% of MSMEs now use at least one AI tool weekly, up from 11% in January 2025. That's an adoption curve that would be impossible in regulated Western markets. The thing most people get wrong about Meta's decision is this: the deepfake feature wasn't actually controversial with users. Internal metrics showed 4.2 million creators using it monthly with a 2.1% complaint rate. Meta killed it because the EU's AI Act enforcement begins August 2026. California's AB 1008 takes effect September 2026. In high-regulation jurisdictions, the cost of compliance and litigation exposure outweighs the feature value. That's not a user trust problem, it's a regulatory trust problem. But here's where the divergence becomes an opportunity. Indian MSMEs face no such calculus. The proposed Digital India Act is still in draft form and unlikely to pass before 2027. This regulatory void isn't a constraint, it's the feature enabling rapid experimentation. Indian businesses are testing use cases right now: automated lending decisions, dynamic pricing, predictive hiring, that would trigger immediate regulatory review in the EU or US. What's driving this isn't recklessness. It's a fundamentally different trust architecture. A Chennai-based garment MSME using AI for demand forecasting doesn't need Meta's brand safety. They need their distributor network's endorsement. When the local textile association recommends a tool, adoption happens in weeks. Platform brand trust is almost irrelevant. There's a second layer: MSMEs evaluate tools purely on cash flow impact. If an AI chatbot reduces customer support costs by 40,000 Indian rupees per month, it's trusted. Full stop. Western enterprise buyers demand third-party audits, security certifications, compliance documentation. Indian MSMEs demand a 60-day free trial and WhatsApp support. Now, here's the second-order implication that most investors are missing. If Indian MSMEs deploy AI at current rates, they'll generate 2.3 exabytes of sector-specific transaction data by December 2027. That's the data that trains the next generation of models. Western labs' safety conservatism may cost them the data needed to build safer, more robust systems. The irony is bitter: caution compounds into fragility. For infrastructure, this is a land grab. Bharti Airtel announced Business AI Suite at 480,000 MSME customers. Jio's Bharat AI Stack launched July 9th. This isn't about models, every frontier lab has equivalent capabilities by mid-2026. This is about distribution. Whoever controls the last-mile AI delivery to 63 million MSMEs wins a decade-long platform lock-in. For global SaaS, the timeline is tightening. Salesforce, HubSpot, and Shopify have 18 to 24 months before Indian native competitors eat their MSME market share. A Bangalore startup selling AI-first CRM for 2,999 Indian rupees per month with zero compliance overhead will demolish a $79 per month Salesforce Essentials package that requires 6 forms and a credit check. Here's the uncomfortable question. What if Western AI companies' trust-first approach is tactically correct but strategically catastrophic? If emerging market MSMEs adopt AI 5 times faster, hit 3 times more edge cases, and build 10 times more real-world feedback loops, while Western deployments remain bottlenecked by compliance theater, we're not just creating an adoption gap. We're creating a competence gap. The businesses that survive 100,000 messy AI interactions will build better systems than those that survive 10,000 pristine, pre-approved ones. Evolution requires variation and selection pressure. Overprotective regulation reduces both. For investors and builders, the arbitrage isn't in AI models. The arbitrage is in deployment infrastructure for trust-flexible markets. 3 specific bets with 18-month visibility, regional AI CDNs with 40 millisecond latency to Tier 2 cities instead of 340 milliseconds. Vernacular AI workflow tools that talk to your accountant in Tamil and update GST filing automatically. Compliance as a service for emerging markets, because when regulation arrives in 2027 or 2028, MSMEs will need instant compliance retrofitting without breaking deployed systems. The core insight is this: the meta MSME divergence isn't about technology maturity. It's about trust architecture. Western tech companies optimize for institutional approval in high-regulation environments. Emerging market businesses optimize for transactional velocity in low-regulation environments. Neither is right or wrong. But the latter compounds faster. The next $100 billion AI infrastructure company won't come from optimizing GPT-7's safety scores. It'll come from being the deployment layer that lets 60 million Indian MSMEs use cutting-edge AI without asking permission from regulators first. That's not a bug in global AI governance. That's the feature that determines who wins the 2030s. This is worth watching. Meta just killed its deepfake feature over safety concerns. 24 hours later, India announced 8.2 million small businesses now use AI, a 340% jump in 1 year. Here's what everyone's missing: Western AI companies are bottlenecked by compliance. Indian MSMEs are bottlenecked by nothing. They're testing lending decisions, dynamic pricing, and hiring automation, use cases that would trigger regulatory lockdown in the EU or US. By December 2027, MSMEs will have generated 2.3 exabytes of real-world data. Meanwhile, Western labs stay cautious. The irony: safety first may cost the West the data needed to build safer systems. The next $100 billion AI company won't optimize GPT's safety.